Hi, welcome to Felixstowe Live. I'm Chris. I'm in the office of a haulage company in Felixstowe. It's run by a man called Adam Searle, and Adam recently had a moment of fame locally. I don't know whether you saw it, but he recorded a video diary about the problems small and medium-sized haulage companies have booking slots to get on the dock at Felixstowe. Felixstowe has a system called VBS. Many people working in the haulage industry in Felixstowe will know it and hate it. But the reality is it's the only way to get your vehicle onto a dock to deliver an empty container and to pick up a full container. And the system, according to Adam and many of his colleagues, is not working properly. It's stopping hauliers getting the containers they need for when their customers, the importers, need them.
Yeah, I have over 50 vehicles, not just servicing Felixstowe, but Southampton and other ports as well.
And you are, in inverted commas, in trouble most days of the week actually getting your vehicles on and off the dock.
Yeah, we struggle daily. It's an uphill battle. We get close to getting there most days, but sometimes we fail, and we fail our customers, and we fail financially.
Now, you rely on the Port of Felixstowe to get your trucks onto the dock, to get them picking up and dropping off containers, and you use something called a vehicle booking system. Give me a little idea of how this works.
The Port of Felixstowe have created a VBS system. It wasn't there 12 years ago. It came in place in 2008. And it's now at a stage where they release approximately 120 VBSs per hour for the entire haulage community on one of their two terminals, being Trinity. I'll focus on Trinity now because it's the main one of the two terminals. They have what's called a pre-allocation, of which approximately 100 of the 120 VBSs are given to larger hauliers. Namely Maritime, Gold Star. You'll have seen the trucks about, leaving approximately 20 for the rest of the haulage community. I believe there are 200 active VBS users in and out of Felixstowe on a daily basis, of which 20 VBSs per hour is not enough for 200 haulage companies.
Some of those haulage companies are like one or two trucks, I suppose, and some of them are 50 or 100.
Yes, exactly.
So really and truly, the numbers are falling short of what the community needs to keep in business.
Definitely. And the other issue is as well, they release the VBSs several days in advance, and it's a real struggle to get any, particularly during the peak times, which in the afternoon. So a vehicle will go out, deliver a container at 8 o'clock in the morning somewhere, come back to Felixstowe in the middle of the afternoon to get his next day's container. And invariably that's where the real shortage is. So they're expected then to go on the dock at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock the following morning to collect their container to be where they need to be at 8 o'clock the next day, which I'm not using my driver's hours and vehicles as effectively as I should be, because they're having to wait around and mismanage their hours to work around the port's failings.
So essentially, what you're saying is that the port needs to actually open up its system so you can get more access.
Yeah, I mean, before the advent of VBS, the vehicles would turn up at the port as and when they felt like it. So there would be a peak time of vehicles arriving in the middle of the afternoon and less arriving at 1 o'clock in the morning. Which didn't suit the port systems, because they wanted an even spread on every single hour of the day for vehicles, which as a business owner I understand that that's using their equipment as effectively as possible, but unfortunately they are providing a service to the haulage community, and the service isn't there at the moment. It's purely suiting their ends.
I suppose one of the things that the port is ignoring is that you, as haulage companies, regardless of whether you're a big company or a small company, you only have a limited window in which you can deal with your customers. You have to deal with your customers, your clients, when they are open themselves, and most of them are only open, what, 8 till 5 or something?
Well, the whole industry is time sensitive. We manage containers for a number of clients, and not mentioning names, but if it's a busy warehouse, they might have 5 containers a day. One at 8 a.m, one at 10, one at 12, one at 2, one at 4. Each container takes 2 hours to offload. So if their 8 a.m. container is 2 hours late, it causes them a problem and they can't offload all their containers in a day. It's very simple mathematics, unless they pay overtime at the end of the day and their guys, their warehouse operatives, have to work longer.
Right. This is complicated, isn't it?
Or we fail a delivery and we repeatedly have delays on the quay, cannot load containers as we would like to. We might arrive at a customer's premises a few hours later than they wanted it, and because they have other vehicles arriving from other locations, they haven't the manpower to offload us today. So we've driven to somewhere in England for nothing and then returned it back to Felixstowe to be rebooked for another day. And someone somewhere has to pay for that.
Yeah. And that's going to be you somewhere down the line, I guess.
Sometimes it's us, sometimes it's our customer, sometimes it's the warehouse, but ultimately whatever it's cost comes out of someone's pockets unnecessarily.
Over the last few days, you did a video blog, a video diary, over 24 hours, showing what you guys are doing to actually get enough VBS slots to make your business work. And that looked to me like a nightmare, because you had guys working and taking actions on the computer literally every hour through the day and night, and that's what really happens in this world.
That is a real world event that happens not just in my office but in several haulage companies in Felixstowe that are similar sizes to ours, larger and smaller in fact, where I know of other companies that have got 12, 15 staff, and literally 2 minutes to the hour, the entire workforce down tools and look for VBSs to try and operate their fleet. And I've had messages of support from several other hauliers congratulating me and saying, this is my life, this is my horrible life, welcome to my world. 2 a.m. Dealing with drivers looking for VBSs on a regular basis. I'm sure it's illegal under working hours, but it's what we do. And you'll set an alarm for 2 or 3 in the morning, flick on your laptop, PC, pad, whatever it may be, work for 3 or 4 minutes, and then try to go back to sleep and
knowing you've got to wake up in an hour's time
to do it again, and then run a full day and function normally, and run a business.
Now clearly you must have spoken to Felixstowe, and your colleagues I guess in other companies must have spoken to the Port of Felixstowe repeatedly about this. What are they currently saying to you?
The Port of Felixstowe have VBS managers. I've got to total loggerheads with the VBS managers to a stage where I can't speak to them because their hands are tied. They can absolutely do nothing to assist my business. So I've escalated it to Rob Ashton, who is the operations director of the Port of Felixstowe, who refuses to engage me. I've tried messaging him on LinkedIn, Facebook, I've got his mobile number, but I did get a message on email a few days after trying to contact him to say deal with his number 2, who I'm at loggerheads with and getting nowhere.
Okay, we've now got to the stage where what we're saying effectively is that the way that the port is working is damaging your business and is damaging so many other businesses. Effectively,
it is because it's a service-driven industry, and it's very time sensitive. Albeit we operate 24/7, we have vehicles on the road every single hour of every single day of the week, and we have to be certain places at certain times. If a customer books a container for 4 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon, they've got their labour there, they've got their staff there, they expect my driver to turn up at 4 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon. So we understand that the roads get congested, the drivers have delays, but the port is becoming a big problem.
This is actually bouncing onto the UK's other ports downstream, isn't it? So apparently, according to what I read in the Lodestar and things, ports like London Gateway, ports like Southampton are also suffering congestion caused by importers and exporters not wanting to use Felixstowe?
That is correct. I believe one of the large shipping lines has put a surcharge on their sea freights for anything calling to Felixstowe.
CMA-CGM.
That's correct, yeah. Because it's a hassle for them. Their vessels are taking longer to turn around, which ultimately is unfair because the port are not suffering. CMA-CGM, they are suffering in terms of time, but these style of companies don't suffer financially. They just pass the burden on to the importer, to the customer, to the person buying that tin of beans off the shelf in Sainsbury's. That cost is reflected in our cost as a consumer.
What has to happen? What's stopping Felixstowe from actually dealing with its hauliers properly? And what action do they need to take to put it right?
Well, firstly, they need to converse and acknowledge the hauliers as a community, because it's a big problem, and unless we can actually get to speak to them, we can't resolve the issues, number one. Number two, the infrastructure that they've set up around the VBS is not working. It will take a massive overhaul of some description, but it is not working as it stands, and they need input from all sides of the fence to be able to put it right. The pre-allocation is one of the big areas, because 85–6% of all VBSs go to the larger hauliers that have a pre-allocation, leaving 15% to the rest of the haulage community, which is not enough for us to operate. That's number one, but how they put 20% more operational staff on the port would help, but obviously that's an unreasonable request from us as a haulage community to do at the drop of a pin. So some communication needs to happen as to what is achievable and what is realistic and what can be done to help the wider community. Okay, we're looking at Trinity VBSs for today, Wednesday the 28th of November, October even, we'll push away a month. Currently, if we're looking over here, there was 100% of all the VBSs used at midnight. There's none left. There was one available for 1 o'clock this morning, 18 unused for 3 o'clock this morning, and then we've used, as a community, 100% of all the VBSs through till about now. There was another one at 10 o'clock not used. Of approximately, I think there's 120 VBSs an hour. It's 11:03, and for some reason some hauliers have held on to some 11 o'clock VBSs and just returned them to the exchange. So currently there are 8 VBSs that I could use now if I had the vehicles about. But in this industry, luck would have it, I don't have any vehicles sitting around. They're actually out doing what they're supposed to be doing. But had I had them sitting about waiting, I'd be lucky, because luckily enough there is 8 VBSs available now. If I look further down, this is Wednesday. If I look tomorrow, oh look, there is 0, 0, 0, 0. 100% of all VBSs have been taken. There is nothing available.
But on the day, some of those will be returned.
Yeah, I might be lucky.
So you have to sit on it.
Nobody knows. This is Friday, and again they're all taken through till 2000 hours on Friday evening, which most people hopefully will be home and enjoying a beer by that stage.
Can you show us the screen that actually shows your bookings, and so you can see what you've got?
I can. So this is my booking manager.
Right.
This is the VBSs that I've used today. 2 in the morning. The ones that are highlighted in red is because there was a flexible arrival period. There's been some delay at the port, and they've instead of the VBS being run for an hour, they've extended it for some reason. Could be anything. So here we have all of our VBSs. The dark blue have been used, the light blue, the vehicles are in progress on the dock. And as you'll see, it's 11:05, and I've still got an 8 o'clock. Let's just have a look at that one, shall we? He arrived at 8:55 just to load one container on Trinity, and so 2 hours and 10 minutes later, he's still has not loaded his container.
He's still sitting there.
Still sitting there, yeah. I think the port published an average of 40 minutes for a turnaround for one container, and then an additional 20 minutes per container thereafter. So as we can see, that highlights to me that they've failed to service the vehicles in a timely manner. And here we have the 11 o'clocks, they're green, they've got containers, they're allocated, but the vehicles haven't ingated as yet. So we've got 11s, a 12 o'clock, a 1 o'clock and a 2 o'clock on birthday to 9, 1, 2 o'clock on Trinity, then nothing till 7 p.m. So any of my vehicles arriving between 3 and 7 this afternoon, we're in the luck pot to see if anybody else has returned some VBSs.
So the yellows are ones that you want, or what?
They're VBSs that I have in my account
Right.
that I haven't allocated a container number to yet.
Right.
This is part of the issue with the system. As you'll see, I've got 5 7 o'clock, 5 8 o'clocks, 5 9 o'clocks, and so on. Because when they were released 4 days previous, we didn't get any 1 o'clocks, 3 o'clocks, 4 o'clocks, 5 o'clocks, 6 o'clocks. So we took 7 o'clocks. Which we probably won't want all those 7 or 8 o'clocks, but we needed some VBSs just in case
you couldn't find anything when you needed it.
Yeah, exactly. And we are not the only haulier doing that, and that's why there is no future bookings at 7 o'clock tomorrow evening or 8 o'clock tomorrow evening, because all of the hauliers are doing exactly the same thing. I know I'll probably want some at 3 o'clock and 4 o'clock in the afternoon, but I might have to make my vehicles wait for 4 or 5 hours. And that's the trouble with the system, because we'll do it because we have to, as it might be the only means we can operate on that given day.
To be honest with you, this sounds like, from your point of view and from the point of view of most other haulage companies, like a nightmare to live with.
It is. It's impossible to run a business that's not only is it time sensitive, but we're restricted by drivers' working hours and lots of other issues surrounding it. Everything is time sensitive, and we need to be at a budget several days in advance with what we have, because if a driver can drive for 9 hours a day, as an employer, I want him to do his day's work. If he only drives for 4 hours a day, then has to wait for 5 hours, I dare say I've lost money on that vehicle in a day. And if I do that repeatedly, I won't be here in a year's time.
So Adam, we are looking at you as an individual, let's say small businessman, not a big business, there's a medium-sized enterprise, you've got 40 or 50, 60 people working for you and with you.
Yeah.
And they depend on your office here to get the work to keep them in jobs.
That's correct.
But the way it looks to me as an outsider is that the Port of Felixstowe is not doing what it should do and doing its best to keep you working. So sum up what the problem is now and sum up where we need to go in the near future.
The issue is that I employ 60 people to drive lorries, some directly for me, some are subcontractors for me. So ultimately I'm responsible for 60 households, and if I can't pay their wages and if they can't earn enough money to support their household, then that's 60 people who will not have jobs in a year's time. At the moment it's becoming impossible to manage the fleet of vehicles effectively in a way that we should be able to keep everybody profitable. It's not a swear word, profit needs to be there, and to be able to support my customers, because if I can't deliver what my customer wants when they want it, I won't retain them as a customer also. It has been published nationally, it's in the hands of the trade associations, BIFA, the RHA. I've even petitioned our local MPs as well. Something needs to happen, and soon.
There is one ray of hope that's coming up on the horizon, and that's the return of a man called Chris Lewis. Chris Lewis used to be the chief executive at Felixstowe, and after leaving Felixstowe he went on to have a very successful career within other major port operators, and he's coming back. People here like him, people here believe that they can trust him and rely on him to do what he says he's going to do. He's coming back this week, and we all hope, everybody, both inside the port, I believe, and outside the port, hope that Chris is going to manage to turn things round and get the port back to working properly and satisfying all the needs that are put upon it. I'm Chris, this is Felixstowe Live, and I'll see you soon.